And we are live. Another edition to the first Bloodcast. Now with a guest that I think you all are familiar of, Harry Payne. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back on here, man.
So, about this announcement I just talked about earlier, on 10 minutes ago, on the RBC Twitter, they have announced that the winner of you versus Harry on night 2 will fight Notorious Jones Jr. on night 3 for the interim IBF
Yup.
title. I
You don't like it?
I don't like it at all. I don't like the idea of a number one contender fight between you and Abdullah. I don't like the fact that it's a night before NJJ.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a busy weekend if I do win against Abdullah, but I'm ready. Honestly, from the first fight, very close fight. I only lost by a point. I
I
feel like in
think
the first fight I wasn't active whatsoever, and I've changed my style up. You've seen it in my most recent fights with Dax. Yeah, I feel like I'm ready, but anything can happen. I have an opponent in front of me for night 2, and we got to get business done.
so. When you do have a situation like this where you have to prepare for two guys, what are you looking at first? Are you just focusing forward on what Abdullah's going to bring first and then focus on NJJ if you do win the fight, or is it you have to focus on two guys during this camp?
Well, of course, NJJ will be in the back of my head, but I've fought him before, and even with mistakes on that night where I lost by a point against him, I did really good. I just choked the first 2 rounds. Uh, yeah, I feel like I've already fought him. I know what I have to do. So that that isn't really my focus. My focus is somebody fresh blood, someone I haven't fought before, Abdullah, who has power and is explosive, which I need to take care of. And I feel like Abdullah is more of, the focus going into this training camp I'm having right now. So yeah.
You've been one of the most active fighters on the roster so far. Considering you just fought in Matchroom, I think didn't you utterly destroy Dax on a Matchroom?
I believe I did. I won every round. 6 knockdowns. He had 0 knockdowns. I can bring up the stats right now if needed, but yeah, I did pretty good that fight, you know,
Yeah, and
especially him coming off. Sorry about that, but he came off 2 wins on a winning streak while I came off a loss, and that just puts me right back into contention and even title contention.
with the middleweight division being as stacked as it is, I mean you have yourself, you have NJJ, you have Jam, you have Ozzy, you have Dodo, three great champions, great contenders, and they're very close to being at the top. Um, with you having a chance to play spoiler for this NJJ fight, what would it mean to you? Because you have to, if you win, you're the interim IBF champion. Would you be prepared for a guy like Jam Jones? I know you told me that you guys didn't want to fight, but if that does come to that,
Well, Jam, well, hmm. If I do beat NJJ and Abdullah and get myself an interim title, I'll gladly fight, anybody that comes in my way that challenges for the title, even Jam, which I have to, unify for, and that'll probably be my next fight after NJJ. And I'll fight Jam, honestly. I feel like my style now counters everything. We've had fights in the past before me and Jam, like of course Showtime, that didn't end well for me. It was still a close fight though, but now things have changed drastically. I have a brand new style. It's just a better version of my old style, basically. And I feel like if I fight Jam, I will show that more than anyone else because I feel like I'll be his kryptonite that fight. I feel like my style is just better than his. Styles make fights. And I believe I can beat Jam and anyone in the middleweight division, even how stacked it is.
With you being as active as you are right now, considering the fact that you didn't start RBC until like RBC 9, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
With you now being as active as you are, being in the gym as much as you do you think right now, when it comes to the combat sports stuff you've been doing, that this seems to be the main focus for you now? That rogue boxing seems to be the main focus when it comes, because you used to be a legend in MMA. I mean, the run you went as a welterweight champion was great, but now that you're into this new chapter of boxing, do you think this is going to be your main focus, trying to be the best middleweight in the world?
Jay, I'm locked in. I'm retired from RCL and Rogue Combat in general. I'm locked in RBC. You know, I've liked boxing even before MMA. It's been one of my things for a while now. Since like I was like 10, I've just been watching and obsessed with boxing. And it's so super cool that I get to do this and I have the chance. So I'm grateful for everything. And yeah, this is my main focus now. This is I'm just trying to be the best.
It's great to hear. And this entire Japan card, uh, top to bottom, so many crazy fights. Is there a fight that really stands out to you as like a fight? I know your fight is very important to you, obviously, but is there any other fight that you would like to watch?
Ooh, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of good fights on the Japan card and the nights in general. I saw yesterday Khalid Rashad making a return. That'll be fun to see, especially him in the middleweight division. I'll I'll be sure to see him sometime. I guess I don't know, maybe. But yeah, it's pretty stacked. 3 nights. We have Gable Cotto making his debut, which is gonna be nice. I've known him. He's a good friend of mine. I feel he will do well. And yeah, there's a lot of good fights on there. This is gonna be a great, great 3 nights of fights. I will tell you that.
Well, my favorite fight on the card, besides I think night three, one of these big fights is going to be Gabriel Maldonado versus Beast Riley, and I know we've been talking about how Gabriel has been. It's been a while since he's fought. He was supposed to fight Tams King, didn't show up for that one for external reasons. But when you look at a fight like that against Beast Riley for a number one contenders fight, what do you see? Is who do you favor in that fight? Who do you think is going to win?
Considering activity, I'd say Gabriel Maldonado. He did fight Void and beat him. Pretty one-sided fight. And Void is a pretty good contender. So, and I haven't really seen anything from Beast Riley. Maybe in side feds, but nothing really, especially from the new system.
He beat
It's gonna be
SSI,
weird.
I think.
In what time?
It was RBC 11, I think.
He fought SSI.
Yeah, it was an expedition fight, but he won pretty easily.
Oh, oh. SSI is pretty good. He
Yeah.
beat Triple really easily, I'd say. Um, that makes it wow, Jay. That makes it a lot closer now, huh? I don't know who I favor in that fight now.
Yeah.
So
A lot of these fights are so close, and
close, yeah.
and obviously clear shot Dax. It's a big fight, but going back to your fight, I want to ask you, two nights in a row you'll be fighting. If you do beat Abdullah, I know that's the very first concern on your mind. And it takes me back to what I keep saying about the middleweight division, how crazy stacked it is now. When it used to be the bottom division, when welterweight and heavyweight used to be the class of RBC. Now the middleweights have really been carrying since the new tools. What is that? How does that make you feel?
Well, it's just more fun for me. I'm in the division. I made a good statement, and I'm 3-1. I'm in a good spot right now. I can get pretty much any fight I want. That isn't a title shot, of course, because 3-1. I don't feel like that deserves you anything. Maybe I don't know, but I feel pretty good. In a good spot. I love the way the middleweight division is now stacked, which means I can see more fresh blood, not the same person over and over again. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Absolutely. Uh, well, and I like the idea of you doing a sort of number one contenders fight in near the same time, um, but at this point, looking at how stacked the division is, um, and there's a battle between who's going to be the best in that. Who really is the best middleweight in the world? Do you want to? When you look at, fumbling my words here for a second. When you look at the two main champions right now, Jam Jones and Ozzy Divine, what poses a bigger threat to the division? Do you think Ozzy's more dangerous? Or do you think Jam is more dangerous?
Depends what kind of fighter you are. If you're a pressure fighter without good defense, Jam will be a big problem for you. But so will Aussie. I feel like they're both even. And, if you put them in front of each other and they fight, I feel like you'll have an even outcome. Both men good at what they do will pick each other at every mistake they make. Because nobody's perfect other than me. I'm kidding. But, it's going to be, if that fight ever comes to happen, that's going to be a really good fight. But are we just going to count out Dodo? He exists, he's like a champion. He has the
I
belt.
do see him as a champion, and here's my opinion on this. You have five. I'm gonna count you in this one too. Five guys who can beat each other on any given night. I think you have Dodo Paul who can easily beat one of those two. I don't think people will like me saying that, but NJJ can beat any one of those three. You can beat any one of those four. This is a it's been a battle between this type of top five. When you did make your debut, people knew, yeah, this guy's legit. Do you agree with that statement? Do you think it's really going to be a dogfight between you five right now?
Well, if the NJJ fight told you anything, I'm pretty I'm almost there. I'm almost ready for everything. And those people at the top five in the middleweight division, I'll tell you, they got hands and they put on a show every time they fight. So yeah, I do believe in that.
Yeah. And listen, you're the I think number two middleweight contender in the world. And obviously, I did forget about Abdullah. I want to talk about that fight specifically for a second because I know we've been talking about case scenarios on what happens if you beat Abdullah or what happens in the future. But Abdullah, very dangerous fighter, although has he just recently fought for the first time in a very long time. What you've seen from him so far, what threats do you see from a guy like Abdullah?
If my defense isn't up to par with my pressure, it's gonna be a bad night for me. But I have good defense and I land the bigger shots, I believe. So when he comes on me and tries to explode on me, like he usually does, it's not gonna work. Everything's gonna be blocked. I'm gonna look like Floyd Mayweather in there. I'm gonna, bounce his head off the canvas, and I believe it will be a short night. If not, I'll bring him to the sixth round and then, win by a dominant decision. But that's what I believe. He can totally bring a different, fight to the table. I'm ready for anything, though. I'm not just preparing myself for a knockout. I'm preparing myself for a long night, win or lose.
Mhm.
But I believe I will win that fight.
And when it comes to your training for these boxing matches, now I know when the short time you were doing boxing and MMA simultaneously, what is the most different thing about training for these type of boxing matches now than it was for MMA? Is it just like gloves and styles, or what else is different?
I feel like it's almost the same, but in the aspect of you having to improve your style and look at what your opponent does by like looking at tapes in their past fights and knowing how they fight. I feel like it's the same pretty much, but differences I can really see is, uh, hmm, I guess, yeah, I got nothing. I don't really think that there's a difference between that.
Do you think it's easier to
Uh,
gauge people in MMA because that if someone tells you, well, they're a wrestler, so you just have to gauge them as a wrestler, or was it more complicated than MMA?
MMA, I feel like it was a little easier, yeah, because not a lot of people were too advanced. They were sticking with one thing. They had decent stand up, but their wrestling was amazing. So if you were a good striker, you just had to watch out with the wrestling. That's pretty much it. With boxing, it's literally just striking,
Mm-hmm.
and one man can be better than the other due to the style they play. styles are way different in boxing than they are in MMA. So
Yeah, the
yeah,
styles are very different, and one of the things we talk about when you have a guy like Notorious Jones Jr. Is the left hand that's gonna be in your face all night. How do you plan to handle that jab? Because it really it affects so many people in that when they have to be faced with that jab. So, what is a game plan for something like that?
before I pretty much see a lot of things that people do. I keep that in the back of my mind, and I feel like I can telegraph his jab. I've done it in the fight with me and him in the first fight. I've done it with him. I've telegraphed his jab, kind of with an uppercut or a feint hook. That did more damage. But if I can't find my way around that, I will be powering through with more jabs than him, because that's one of my new favorite tools now. Ever since that fight, the jab and the straight really works. So yeah, I'll just be either countering or overpowering him with a better jab. That's pretty much it.
So, speaking of these combinations, I haven't really talked to anyone about their favorite combinations. But when you're training or in a fight, what are some of the go-to things? Is it straight, straight? Is it jab, jab, straight? What do you like to use? What is your favorite combination when it comes to road boxing right
Well,
now?
I don't do combos. I do what's in the moment. I have really good reaction time, so if you see me throw like a jab straight, they open up their block and then I throw an uppercut, it's because I saw them put their hands down and I have really good reaction time. I don't really stick to combos. If I want a good combo that will do damage in their back in a way, I will throw a feint hook and a hook, because it's just the go-to with everybody. It works. Never, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So yeah,
Hmm.
I don't really got a combo. I just do what I have to do.
And I think we've talked about it before, but your history in Showtime, I think, was one of the reasons I liked how you fought. Take you back to did you beat Triple Paul in Showtime, correct?
Yeah.
On a few minutes' notice after a basketball game. Um, how did that feel when you beat him for that title?
I was going into that fight, you know, just like I'm gonna just do this for fun. I made my walkout pretty like funny. I just walked in there, and I was like, I don't care if I win or lose. It's just gonna be fun. It's whatever. Because I didn't think I was gonna do it. I was dead tired. I wanted to go to sleep, and then I win. That was a good time. I won 2 belts that night because he put his heavyweight belt on the line. So I was not only the first, debuting champion. That was my first fight, and I won a belt. I was the first double champion in Showtime, which was it's a big
Wow.
achievement. So yeah.
Do you think that could be the in your when it comes to your accomplishments? Where does that rank among your best achievements when it comes to row combat or row sports in general?
Number 2 or 3. I'd say me winning the welterweight title at RCL, what was it, 39,
39.
was way better, because I was 12 and I believe 12 and 2 or 10 and 2. No, 9 and 2. I was 9 and 2. I was hungry for a title. I came off a title loss against Jam Jones. I finally picked up my career win against Driz. I was just in a bad situation. I got thrown a title fight because I was #1 contender in the welterweight division, I believe, then, and I won. And I what I finally wanted ever since I debuted in my first real combat sport, which was MMA. And yeah, it was just a happy day for me. I finally got what I wanted, and I went on to defend that belt, you know, 3 times. So yeah,
And your last defense coming off against Adam Cart in that trilogy in Mexico, I
yeah,
believe.
that was also a great moment. Putting a trilogy to rest. Adam Cart being one of my literally my first loss in real combat, because I took it short notice, didn't know what I was doing. I was dumb, 8-0. Then I got knocked out in the second round, and it's nice to see I finally get to redeem a loss such as that one on that night, in a very dominant fashion too. So it was really happy for me as well.
And let's say, because if you beat Abdullah and you beat Notorious Jones Jr., that might go down as like one of the most gutsy moments in the history of sport. Because you're basically preparing for two guys at this point. You have on the back of your mind, you definitely have the fact that you have to fight Notorious Jones, but you also have this dangerous guy in Abdullah who was a monster back in the day. So you have to prepare for that power. So if you accomplish this, if you win this, how do you want people to remember this? Do you want them to see this as just another reason why you're great, or is this going to be a bigger deal than that? Do you think they're going to see this as one of the greatest moments in the history of WC?
I want people to see this as, wow, this guy, no matter what combat sport he is, he can fight and he's really good at it. He just beat literally really big contenders back to back, night to night, you know? It's what I'm trying to prove. I'm trying to prove that I'm one of the greatest to do it ever on here. So, yeah, that's pretty much just what I want them to know. That I'm here and I'm not here to take part. I'm here to take over, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I just want to go down as the best, like, real combat sports, like, fighter ever. Yeah.
It's a very big conversation when you talk about that stuff. You got a lot of guys who have the distinction of having multiple combat, of having boxing and MMA. You can talk about the likes of Cruzaro as one of those guys. Gabriel Cotto trying to come in and be one of those guys. Jam Jones definitely up there with one of them. What is it going to take for you to get up there? Is it going to take to be undisputed middleweight champion, or do you think you need to be Notorious Jones Jr. and
Whatever
Abdullah?
comes my way. And honestly, if, I don't know, if Ray puts anyone in front of me and gives me a fight, I'm not going to decline it. I don't care who it is. I believe I'm the best. I'll just fight him. I don't care who it is. It could be literally Yasu Divine, literally the day after I supposedly beat NJJ, right? I'll accept the fight and I'll fight him. I believe I'm one of the greatest. I just want to prove that. I don't care how long it takes. I'll do it.
Well, Harry, we literally did this podcast at the exact right time where this fight was announced. I want to say good luck. I think you and NJJ are going to put on a great show. You and Abdullah are going to put on a great show. I want to say good luck to all three of you. And Abdullah, if you're listening, good luck, because you also have a chance to do the impossible. But Harry, thanks for being out here again. And is there anything else you want to say?
Strap in. I'm about to become interim, I believe, IBF champion. So yeah.
Just under 2 weeks away, night one of RBC 13 in Tokyo. You heard it here first. Harry Payne, thank you so much for coming out, and good luck in 2 Saturdays from now.
Thank you. All right. Have a good day.
All right. Bye, everybody.